Yeah, we live, man.
Hey.
COE. Shit. Let me hold up. I got some background noise. Yeah. Ah, stop and search team.
Yeah,
Stop
yeah.
and search team. Um, charity first ambition thing. Our corner live. You know how the drill go already. We didn't do the our corner in the park last Sunday still, sir. Got the opportunity to try and make up for that and do it right now. You get me?
Yeah, man.
Big up W Beard in the comment section. Peace to all the viewers that's logging in. Yeah. So we're
Like
gonna
up.
kick
Oh,
like up the show. We done now the thing already. We're gonna kick straight off with the charity with the charity question still. This is what I proposed for the our corner discussion, or one of the topics that I proposed was the um how man feel about charity. You get me? If it's something that's beneficial in the long term, or if it's something that's like hinderous in terms of does it strip you of your ambition? If you can expect that for your needs, somebody's gonna provide for you.
Right.
Me personally, I think that it does. Like it's more it's like a hindrance unless you need some emergency charity, then yeah. But it came about through that David Lammy thing still when he was looking out against the white woman who was doing the charity thing with the smile in Africa. Man, ain't got nothing against her personally still, but just in general, the comic relief thing, like um these charities that's like been there for years and years and years, and just are like institutions now, innit? To me, it's like rah. I don't know what the problem is that needs addressing, but like it's supposed to be to a level right now where man don't need the charity no more, innit? And there's that saying, teach a man how to fish and then he's good, you get me? Give him fish for the day and then he's got his hand out tomorrow or something, you get me? So
Something like that, man. Give a
something
man a
like that.
fish and he'll eat. No, give a man a fish and he'll eat for the day. But give a man a fishing rod and he'll eat for a lifetime. Something like that. That's more
Yeah,
close.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
It's,
You know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying.
yeah, man.
think of his own
you say
thing.
man, you say man's butchering up the place. Man's but
I like that
Grab a
one.
man the carry blood.
that's why I'm behind the camera. You get me? Now you know. Now you know. That's why I see how we stay behind the camera. You get me?
There
Yeah.
was.
This
All
this
right.
this 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 is my understanding of charity. You get me? So
Yeah.
like I said, unless it's emergency, like it's a spontaneous thing, then yeah, be charitable still. But man is supposed to be doing no long term charity thing, fam. That means
Yes.
that something's wrong, fam. How are you able, like Marcus Garvey said, fam? If man ain't able to provide for manself what other races have done for themselves, the man better just lay down and die in it. Your
Mm.
race are nothing, your race is good for nothing. Imbeciles, cowards, you get me? So
Mm.
yeah, what's the man them saying though? What's you man starts?
So I think what you're trying to basically put down is the pros and cons of charity and welfare. Like what is good about it, what is not so good about it.
Yeah.
This is the thing. I think sometimes we have to tread carefully because I think I've heard Brother Ruspect said something about this, like, and it's true. When you go to some of the places that are receiving certain benefits and charity, you won't be able to mock the people who raise for them because when you go long periods without, when someone gives you something, you're always going to be grateful. So on this concept, as in receiving stuff you need, I reckon this is something that we can always say, yeah, this is good. I think the problem is when it becomes like a consistent thing where an entire nation or people group are pretty much surviving on charity, right? And I think there's this thing called trade not aid, and that's something hopefully we can go into where it's like rather than giving money and giving charity like that, let's just like content just said, you know, uh, work on the economic game of the actual people you're trying to help. You know, give them a way to actually form some kind of stimulus, a stability package, or some kind of economic growth, something like that. I think that's where we kind of want to go.
And what do you think? Like in regards to like comic relief and they focus on Africa, innit?
Yeah.
Mm.
What do you think it is that Africans need to be doing in order to not have to depend on foreign aid? The ones that are receiving a charity. 'Cause I don't know. 'Cause even like I said, fam, man just looking from the outside, innit? When man was growing up, man just used to see the starving Africans with flies around them and bear. Man just used to see those pictures, but that's as far as my knowledge on the conditions of the people are. I don't know what set of people they're showing me. I don't know which region they're from. Cause the whole of Africa ain't like that, innit? Obviously, that's the impression that man got as a younger growing up. Because that's what man seeing, that's what man knowing it. So I don't know what the actual conditions are, but like I want to focus on what can man do to help manself in it. Yeah. What needs to be done in it, like and promote that more than just man need help. Let's help them.
Yeah. So go ahead, Raven.
No, you go ahead. You land.
Okay, cool. I was gonna say like on this specific topic, it's very widely debated and disputed on the pros and cons, as Raven said, of welfare and whether welfare leads to a trap, or if charity in itself leads to a trap, or if charity itself actually enables people to get up out of their position. And I think the answer is the same as it's always been, I suppose, is that charity done right is always a good thing. There's nothing wrong with charity per se, but the reality is, or the problem is that charity is far too often and far too commonly done wrong or done badly, or purposely, I think, done badly. So even if you take it on a small scale, so here in the UK, you have the welfare system, and I can't remember. I'm not sure if you guys remember about 7 years ago or something, when David Cameron was running to get into power. He was talking about broken Britain and welfare and how there's people at home with the curtains drawn all day and they're watching television and then they don't go to work. They just collect benefits and they got bigger houses than all the poor people, and all this sort of this idea that the welfare system has trapped people so they can't go to work, or that going to work is actually less productive than it is to sit at home and receive free funds. And I think when you take that onto a larger scale, in the bigger picture, a lot of people say that, or the argument is, this is the issue with Africa. They say Africa has received too much charity for too long, and now the governments of those countries have become dependent on that aid and on that charity, and are now no longer motivated to actually do for themselves because they are being fattened by charity. Also, that people will say, the natural cycle of capitalism, which is if you don't work, you don't get fed, is being usurped by aid. So people now can not work and can still be fed. And obviously, according to the capitalist model, this is an issue because the poor are supposed to die out, basically, or the people who aren't working are supposed to die out, and the people who are working are supposed to be able to thrive and live on the finances. Now, the issue with a lot of this theory is it doesn't stand up to the reality or the practicality on the ground. The issue with aid money isn't that people in Africa are dependent on it. The issue with aid money is it actually doesn't ever reach the source of where it's supposed to go. It's actually become the biggest racket. It's the ways for European countries to say they're giving money to African countries. So just say, for example, Britain. We're giving money to Nigeria, for example, but they don't give it directly to Nigeria. They give it to Oxfam. And Oxfam now employs British citizens who pay tax to Britain to go over to Oxfam and work in Oxfam. So they're providing.
Those are big claims, fam. What you saying? You got evidence? You got evidence to back them up? You saying the money don't reach the promoted destination?
Oh, okay. I mean, on that case, yeah, we know there's several cases of where we are funding or giving or we have given money in the background or to countries, and it hasn't reached or gone anywhere where it's supposed to have gone. There's definitely cases of that, so I'll definitely go and try and pull some of that up for you and do a little screen share. But in regards to that's why we've actually tightened it up. So nowadays, countries have to say where the money's going directly or show receipts, etc., etc. There's loads of different extra things that we put into it now as a government here in the UK to make sure aid goes to specific places. But even within that creates issues, because as someone working for a church, as someone who has done work and received government funding and things like this in the past, these kinds of tick box processes can be easily usurped or gone around. Do you know what I mean? You just have to say you're doing what you're doing to some extent. But yeah, I won't go too deep into that. But yeah, I'll try and get you some facts.
That's what I'm saying, fam. I want to go deep into it, fam. Them big claims there, fam. That means man's supposed to be able to show that raw. So whoever the corrupt people are that's pocketing the money, or it goes from this, it gets collected from the public by whatever organization, and then from that organization supposed to go to this place from that place supposed to go to this place until eventually it gets down to the people that need it on the ground. Somewhere along that line, it's not gone to the next person, is it? So that's what man's supposed to be able to highlight, fam.
Yeah.
But man can come back to that as well, you know. I like how you go on.
I'm getting the things up right now, innit? So I will get.
In the meantime, I'll ask Raven then on something else that you touched upon that I thought was good to focus on as well. Still, in terms of over here, like the welfare state, that's another one still. Man's heard that argument, and I ain't gonna front me personally. I've witnessed that. Like when man was a teenager, me and my brethren, I went and signed on with them in it for like a small portion of my life, fam. Like a very small. Cause I didn't like the way they was talking to me. If I said fuck that, fam, I'm gonna go and make my own money. But a man then was looking at me like I'm crazy. I was like, are you crazy, fam? This is free money. That's how man was looking at it, fam. I was like, fam, I said, you see that free money what they're offering you. This was my mentality from early, fam. So that free money what they're offering you comes with conditions, innit? They're telling you that you have to be here at this time. If you're 1 minute late, you get spoken to like you're a child or something. You have to go. You have to go and do these courses. What you don't want to do. What they're recommending that you have to do. You have to say that you've been searching for these jobs that you ain't searching for. So that's all long for me, fam. I'd rather and a small amount of money what you get at the end of the day. I was like, you acting like you ain't got no ambition, fam. Like you can't make that amount of money even on the road doing crud, fam. There's bare other things man can do in it, but they're looking at me like I'm crazy, fam. So I definitely have seen the welfare state of mind like trap people. To me, it's like a trap, fam. I don't know if I can't say that the government sell it up to be that way. That they don't want people to be ambitious. You know, there's the thing like when you're comfortable, if you're just making a small amount but you're comfortable, then you ain't really gonna. There's no hunger, so you ain't gonna have no ambition to move and make better for yourself. You get me? But if no one weren't feeding you, then who knows what you'll be doing with your life? If you're the one who has to be responsible for your standard of living, fam, then I believe you're more likely to try like to make the most out of your life. You get me? And try and put plans into action, fam. You get me? Rather than if you're getting a guaranteed change and it's enough to just sustain you. Enough man, like I said, fam, I've seen them personally, fam, just sit down on that and not do nothing with their life. And they're all now to this day, fam, they're in the same place where they was how many tens of years ago, you get me? Like bums, fam. Man, like that, fam.
But what is I mean, obviously there's many cases where these things work and they're good. But I think what you're saying, or what you might be saying, is people it becomes like a cultural practice where someone gets used to receiving a certain amount of money, and they adapt their entire lifestyle around this kind of income. So because of that, they'll never necessarily know better because they've actually adapted the amount of money they get given from the welfare, from the government, or from wherever, and they've lived their life based upon this kind of income. So they'll never know any better. Does that make sense? And I think when you say 10 years have passed, 10 years have passed. I mean, the only way they'll know of any kind of growth is if they see someone who doesn't do that, and they're living in a much better condition than them.
Yeah. But so would you say that it's the people that are just like that, regardless of of what's being offered to them?
Well, it really does depend on someone's social surroundings. Like, for example, you know, if you grew up and you saw your mum and dad do that, or maybe just your mum or just your dad, if it's, you know, depending on who's around, then like I said, you're not really seeing any kind of like role models or any kind of like you said before we turned on the actual recording, you were talking about second generation wealth, right? Where you pass things down to your kids and so forth. But you know, some people in these conditions can't pass down anything. If anything, they're passing down debt. So, you know, no one's really seeing any kind of like, you know, high kind of economic growth kind of, you know, functionality or high business practices. So this is what many people know, you know. Like, remember, the welfare state is meant to set up for people who really have gone through hard times. It's not meant to set up for, you know, people who's going to live in that way for long periods of time. But we see people who turn to a cultural practice. You know, how do we break that? Well, I guess education, really, isn't it? You know, you have to in the schools and the community, work. You have to try to train people to be bosses, or to start your own business, or to at least like go in some kind of program where you're monitoring people and see how they work. So you like apprenticeships and so forth, so you can start your own. But yeah, yeah, there are people who are going to literally get used to the welfare state, and that is quite unfortunate.
And so what would you say as well? I don't know if you heard about the like the breakdown of the family structure due to that as well. Like you're supposed to, I don't know, 'cause obviously man I don't sign on and everything still, so I don't know. But apparently you're supposed to get more money if you're single with children than if you had a man in the yard. And apparently that's supposed to be contributing the same thing, fam. That's supposed to be contributing to a lot of the single parent households, because you're getting more P if man ain't here. And sometimes a man is there, but he's not registered as being there in it. So he can't make it look like he's there, so he's half there.
Yeah.
You know, like that, fam. So
yeah, that is a problem.
I don't know what you say to that.
Yeah, so that could be a contributing factor to like to why not to actually have a partner. If you live in a situation where people find it hard to find work, and when they do find work, they're not receiving that much pay, and it's like I can get more stable income from the government than I can from my husband or boyfriend or baby father or whatever, then naturally they're gonna choose to marry the government, aren't they? It's just what it is. So I've heard this problem before. I think someone was saying back in the olden days, a lot of people had fear, and the fear was getting pregnant because they knew they would starve. If they fear, it was just fear of not being able to survive. So people just made sure that if they got pregnant, they got married, and they just didn't get pregnant at all. And I think something has happened where people have lost that kind of fear or responsibility. Either way, either word could be the same, interchangeable. But I think that could be going on as well. There's, like I said, there's that's the spread from this.
So when man look into society and into the community and the conditions what man see, how much would you say is responsible for the welfare state? I don't even know if man should be really using that term like that still, but that type of mentality there where man, like the government will look after man to a certain level. You get me? How much would you say the problems that we're seeing, the violence, the single parent households, how much would you say is that has come about as a result of that policy there? And when, I don't know, when did it come into play? Maybe we can look at I don't know how long that welfare thing's been running from, the way it's running right now. Maybe we can look at how things was before that to how it is now. You get me? I know when it was Windrush generation, fam. Man, I swear, man was strong families them time there, fam.
Yeah.
You get me? I don't know if we was getting any welfare. I swear, man had to work hard for every penny man got. Man had to work twice as hard. You get me?
That's why I was saying about the whole fear factor, where families they feared making these shortcoming mistakes. They knew that if they got pregnant, they have to get married, because how they're going to eat, and they realized they didn't come all the way to another country to not work. So I think there is a loss in that mentality where people are not necessarily fearful of going down these roads, because there is a backup plan, and the backup plan is perhaps the government.
Yeah, I think.
Go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah, I was going to say, the thing about the welfare state as well is, I think to answer your question directly, is it's very difficult to pin blame on this thing on the welfare state for the rise in crime or the breakdown in society, particularly because I think that is a wider issue, and that the welfare state in itself is actually like somebody trying to put a band-aid, like a little plaster on a big, like massive, like knife wound. Do you know what I mean? And so the world, to some extent, it patches it up. To some extent, it builds up like a lot of blood in places that are going to overflow later on in other places. Do you know what I mean? It's not a fix to the actual issue. So, like, they brought in the welfare state around the early 1900s with the liberal governments then, and then around 1945, 46, 1943 you had 42 you had the Beveridge Report, and when you had more Labour influences into the government at this point, because I think there was a coalition government throughout the war. And obviously you had the NHS that came out of that, the National Assistance Act, which was and the National Insurance Act and the National Insurance Industries Act, which are like basically if you get injured at work or these sorts of things, if you can't work for a certain time, you get a sort of payment. And I think to some people, a lot of people would say welfare at that level is good. It doesn't deter people from work. But then obviously I think around 97, you get the new Labour Party coming in. And Tony Blair's and Gordon Brown go kind of crazy with the tax credits and a lot more extra welfare. They reformed the entire welfare system, and so that's the modern welfare system we have today comes from 97. Just to answer your question, yeah.
What was their reasons? What was their reasons for reforming it?
The Labour idea was like that you could have both a conservative style economy, capitalist economy, free open market, while still spending a lot of money on social healthcare. So they thought and social care. So they thought like, and because the taxes were actually quite high, the tax receipts that came in were actually relatively high around that time. They were able to keep spending high on things like building new schools or or offering welfare. Or people didn't have jobs, they'll give them money for while they're out of work. And the idea,
but that's what I'm saying. What was, I don't know. Was there like an emergency situation where people needed more welfare in comparison to how they was living before?
Yeah, I mean, to a certain extent, all throughout the 80s, you know, a lot of people who grew up under Thatcher's time, in the poorer families or who lost jobs in the coal mines up north, and places like that. And like,
okay, so you're saying that's what they bring in the welfare reforms, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, it's just Labour. It's like pretty much Labour's political ideology to offer welfare, but the universal welfare that Tony Blair offered or brought in was like back in the day, the Labour Party was about just giving welfare to the poorest people, whereas Tony Blair and Gordon Brown was like, you know, we give welfare to everyone. Everyone in the country is eligible or can get welfare, basically. So you start getting like married, like people who have kids, and they get like child tax credits and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? To a certain extent, like no matter how much money you have, it just gets, the amount you get is less, but you're still going to get the benefits. So they try and give benefits to everybody, so that, and their hope was if we give benefits to everyone, it lessens the amount of resentment there is to the people who are poor on benefits as well.
So will you feel like the result of that decision there has been in society? You feel like it's a good thing or a bad thing? Has it affected us in a good way or a bad way? Has it made more people look for work, or has it made more people lazy bums?
Oh man! Yo, Raven, I don't know. Have you noticed a change? Like I was young when Blair came in, like, so I can't really speak directly on whether it has motivated people, like, or detracted from people doing work. I don't know, man. Like, I feel like there are people who do definitely sit in their house and they're happy to collect benefits. But I think most people, like you, Leon, like after they do it for a while, majority of people are like, yeah, no, this is long, man. Let me go and do something with my life. But I don't know how much.
I don't know. We'll have to see data on that. But remember, like, you know, welfare was to fix an issue, and like usually you could have like mass unemployment through factories closing down and this kind of stuff. And one of the issues is people didn't have skills, so when their jobs left, they couldn't do anything else.
Yeah.
So the welfare state was meant to come and teach, like, you know, a new skill, get you some money until a new work can run or whatever it was. And I think one of the benefits, or one of the things we should try to be doing, is actually teaching people skills. So
that's
what it should be. So if any kind of welfare thing that's going on, you're gonna have abuse. So some people can actually abuse the system, but the goal should be to learn a skill to find a job. So I don't know. So you said when you're young, people talking about free money. So obviously, fair enough, they were young. So it is what it is. But you know, if that's the mentality of people getting money, then obviously they don't have that kind of ambition to actually like for me personally, learning a new skill is amazing. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, because
you can sell that, you can turn that into a trade. But once again, what people learn in schools, you know, how they processing information.
I hear you still. On that regard, in terms of the welfare and that still, I don't know if you've ever heard of the universal basic income.
Yeah.
because the way this AI thing, I keep on talking about the AI thing still. The way the AI thing is going, fam, like machine learning and people being made redundant and all of that. Like you see now, even in McDonald's, they got the self-service thing where you don't need to speak to no one to make your order. They had that in Asda and Sainsbury's and all them shops from ages ago. You get me? You can do the self-checkout and all of them things there. A lot of jobs are being replaced by machines, in it, and it only looks like from the industrial revolution, that's been the trend. That's been the way things are going, in it. In this capitalist system, it's about decreasing expenses and increasing profit. You get me? Profit margin. So, in order for that to happen, less people have to get paid. You get me? So what happens to all of those people? It looks like it's going that way. You get me? Like a lot of more jobs are gonna get replaced. Call centers, they're making Google. They got the computers. I mean, I think the latest Android version what came out.
Yeah.
You can leave messages. You don't have to answer a call. You can press decline and make it go through to your to the Google Assistant. That sounds like a human being you're talking to, whoever's on the other end talking to, and it can have it can have a basic conversation. You get me? With the other person who's leaving a message. You get me? So I'm thinking like call centers. That's all gonna get done away with. They already tried to do that still, and people's complaining they want to talk to actual people. If they can if they can build the artificial intelligence, the machine learning to a level where they can fool people, that's a next set of jobs that's gonna get dashed away. You get me, sir?
Yeah, so you're talking about like artificial intelligence and VR when it comes to like speaking, like on in the call center or something. You mean like that?
That as well, and like I said, job any type of job that can be replaced by a machine. Like it looks like that's what's gonna happen, innit? So I don't know what's you're gonna have to have some type of coding skill.
Yeah.
Where you're helping to even create the machines that's replacing more human jobs. Yo, it's gonna be crazy out there, you know, fam. It's gonna be some Mad Max business still.
Yeah, basically. But I think
just looking
100. But this is where it comes to how you actually structure a society, like in terms of the universal basic income thing, because to some extent, who owns the AI and who owns the robots? Is it going to be a thing where if you code it, you own it? Or is it a thing of if you code it while you're working in my building, I own it still? Or is it a thing of if you work for this company as a whole owns it and you have shares in this company, so therefore you get your dividend off that? Or is it that all these companies are going to get taxed super high now and all that money from the tax just gets redistributed across the citizenship as a whole on a monthly basis? Like, do you know what I mean? There's a lot of ways to structure that because somebody has to get that money. But if it's all going to go to one person or one conglomerate of people, which is the way of the economy right now, it's definitely going to be very dangerous. But
that's how it's going to be, fam. And like I said, just a quick reply still. Just like our police was set up in the beginning, I interviewed one policeman one time. He was telling me about how the police got started. Robert Peels, that was called Peelers, or Bobby's named after Robert. You get me?
Yeah, Bobby. Bobby Peel,
they got set up to protect the gentry who had bare money from people who ain't had nothing. So I don't see nothing like that. Like I said, that seems to be the trend. The people who's got money are gonna. Now they got drones right now who can drop fire on people from how many miles up in the sky. You can't lick them down. So they're gonna have machines protecting them from. Yo, this
it's like a video game.
Matrix, it's a Matrix thing still.
Yeah. So I've got some facts here. Well, I say facts, but it's on the ethnicity facts figures for the government, and I'm looking at the percentage of unemployed people in the UK, and black people hit 9%, Asian 7%, Europeans or white 4%. So black seems to be leading. Fine enough though. If you break down the Asian group, it's because the Asian group has mixed whites in a better position than the blacks. But Pakistanis and Bangladesh are at 10%. And I don't know if they put them in their own group because maybe Pakistanis and Bangladesh are Islamic. Well, Indians might not be, I'm assuming, on just generally. But they've separated like Asian, Chinese, Indian, and then Pakistani, Bangladeshi. But if you take Pakistani and Bangladesh out of the Asian group, they're doing worse than black people by 1%. But as a collective, black people, there's unemployment 87,300 apparently, and that's 9%.
Mm.
So that's what's happening with black people at the moment in 2018, 19, or 2018, I should say. So that's quite high. So that's quite telling.
I mean, do you think welfare is the cause though, or is the blame? For
No,
that?
no, I don't think. Well, I don't think. Yeah, I don't think. You mentioned something about a massive plaster on a on a open wound or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I guess you might get some people who culturally adapt to like not working, but I think there's bigger issues at play of why that is there. And I guess that's what we're trying to tackle when we go to the park. Really.
Definitely.
And let me introduce. We've got two guests on the panel as well. Still, man like E, a man like Bugs.
Hey,
You man jump in anytime you're ready. You know, open panel season.
Big up respect to everyone. Greetings, yeah.
How's it going, Bugs?
You saying what's your views on what you heard so far?
Do you want to go?
Go, Joe, bro.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
So, yeah, and I've just been listening. Just respect to everyone, man. I'm really getting some great nuggets of information from listening to these discussions and hearing this. It really opens up the mind to think of other factors which are issues to the problems that we're facing at the moment in regards knife crime, because I think that's where what we're talking about when we're talking about stop and search, isn't it? So I believe what you've gone into, it seems like you've gone onto the welfare sort of side of things, and I believe it's a very big contributing factor to a lot of the issues that we're seeing at the moment. Someone was talking about when Blair come in or something like that, when Labour took over and they were offering, the welfare state that was at hand was literally offering single mums basically places of money when they had a child and there was no man in the house. I think that was definitely a major part. It's not obviously the only factor that we can use to blame, because there are other things involved, but I think it was definitely a huge contributing factor, because I can remember growing up in the 90s, and definitely it was a big influx of, I remember young girls basically having children to have their own place, to sort of feel independent. And what I believe we're seeing now is a sort of end result, or sort of some way a sort of end result of that plan that was put in place, because a lot of these you feel that they have no purpose, and not having anyone to guide them to show them that they're special and have a purpose in this world leads to the sort of things that we're seeing today. Now, we know that's not obviously totally the case, but I believe it's definitely a heavy contributing factor. And me, myself, coming up in a family where I had my parents there, you soon realize, I was okay in school and things like that, but you soon realize is that it affects all of us, regardless, because no one can tell that I come from a decent home or anything like that. So I still suffer the same sort of judgment from society as my other brothers and sisters did as well. So I believe that it sort of then washes off onto others, the sort of feelings that you get from the society. Leon, you spoke about signing on back in the day. I no need to reiterate, because I had the exact same experience as you did. You get me? Going in there to sign on, get so-called free money, but then that treatment that I received in there was enough for me to say allow it. But I noticed that a lot of brothers could take that and still carry on that type of thing, and these sort of things lead to the mindset that leads on to what we're sort of seeing now. So yeah, that's kind of my take on it. I don't know if anyone's got anything else to be on top of that still.
Oh, E, what are you saying? You want to jump in? Can you say
Yeah. what I first wanted to talk about was the benefit thing. Yeah, like to me, yeah, it's like it's just a potential tool of control in it, and I'm thinking that was part of what he didn't like about it, the fact that they, can tell you where you can live, how much your car can cost, how much you can have in your bank account, and all these kind of things, and what you should be doing on a Monday to Friday. And I think, yeah, later on, as the wealth gap will increase, like you're saying, through automation, then the people are going to become more reliant on welfare if they haven't already put themselves in a position to capitalize off the changes that's happening. And then the control will can become more severe because the options will be a lot less.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna say, content. Yo, E, I think you got to put on mute. Sorry, bro. Did you want to bring the charity one back up a bit open again to like wider charity as well, like beyond welfare?
Yeah, do your thing, man.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So my thing, I found the one thing. So Malawi, yeah. So when was this? This is back in 2012, when Malawi was seen as like the AIDS, the donor darling. Like, let's all give them money. They got a Democratic leader, Joyce Banda. They got a nice country, and I think Western countries give about 1.7 billion, 1.1 billion of aid into the economy. It's about 20% of their national income for that year. The following year, officials, business, politicians have been accused and alleged to have taken at least 30 million from the Malawi treasury from that aid. A bureaucrat who was investigating it was shot 3 times, managed to survive. Germany said they'd pay for the rest of the investigation, but then the Germans' house was burgled during the middle of the thing, and all the documents relating to the scandal were taken. And now countries no longer are interested in donating in Malawi as much. And I think basically now that they basically say if we're going to give aid to these countries, we have to give the aid directly to charities rather than governments. And quite often, what these charities are Western companies. So, like I say, it's a racket basically. Western companies, Western governments pay Western charities to do charities, and a lot of these charities, like their businesses to some extent. They want to keep doing work. So to some extent, finding more poor people to keep helping keeps them in their job. Do you know what I mean? So to some extent, stopping people from being poor and making them, be able to be self-sufficient removes work. And as you said earlier about that whole AI thing, and as we're running out of jobs here in the West, I don't think any government is in a rush to cut jobs in the aid sector. But that's my own personal opinion on it.
Hey, still. What's the man I'm saying to that?
Yeah, I think yeah. This is something that we do know of when it comes to like the shortchanging charity stuff. Also, corrupt governments and stuff. One other area it also goes into is we were saying that trade not aid. But one of the challenges of trade not aid is when some of these countries actually maybe develop their own farming land or their own kind of ways of sustaining their lifestyle. You might get like I received this letter, funny enough, just in Leytonstone the other day, where they're campaigning for awareness about like poor farmers. So even though they're farming in other countries, they actually might be making a very minimum wage. Well, minimum, not even minimum wages, but way below minimum wages for their country. And that's another issue as well. That even if some people actually get their own kind of like economic plan, they're still getting paid less. So that's another challenge that they go through. Yeah. So fair trade is what we're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, I think fair trade works definitely a lot better than charity. Microeconomics was once a big thing. I don't know what happened to it, but the idea of going and giving small loans, business loans, or small grants rather than charity to business people in Africa, who would then a lot of them would end up setting up their own water companies and just things like that to provide for their communities. rather than having to rely on outsiders, and the companies they set up themselves become self-sustaining. So yeah, I think I just want to.
I haven't seen any of these because I'm assuming on the BBC. I don't really watch TV, so I'm assuming on the BBC and stuff they have these charity shows, and they go to poor countries, and they have people smiling with the locals and all the rest of it, and they might build a house and give Manchester United tops to kids and stuff. But do they actually have like a percentage where they're trying to build up businesses in that country, or is because I don't want to.
That's what I'm saying. I don't never see nothing like that in terms of the charity, fam. I want to see man giving out like bags of rice and building a well, something like that, fam. I don't never see man. No business incentives.
Yeah, I'm not saying
no self-sufficiency.
Yeah, I'm saying they can do all that because obviously there's the immediate emergency, like someone is starving today, give them food today. But I mean, if there's no percentage of what we're donating that's going to like building up the something that can sustain people for generations, then it's almost like you're creating a situation where people are always gonna have to come back. You know what I mean? And that's the issue. And also, you see, when it comes to Africa, you see those diagrams where I saw, you see it sometimes where they say like, people take 99% of wealth away from Africa, give back 1%, and they call it charity. You know what I mean? So it's like them kind of things. Do you know what I mean? Like, you gotta think like Africa is like the most like mineral rich, fertile land continent that's out there, yet it's doing the worst. Like, how does that work? Well, we know how that works. So I don't know. It's these are the interesting topics that we should discuss. But I definitely think we want to be trying to talk to any kind of charities that are just giving money to actually, are they doing business loans? Like, that would be an interesting thing to go down.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
think the trade thing. Yeah, like, are you lot familiar with the economic hitman?
Yeah.
And even with the AIDS situation,
written by John Perkins. Yeah.
Break that down.
Yeah.
You gonna break that down?
Like, I think a lot of that must be happening in Africa, and then, but you know what it is as well. Yeah, obviously corruption is a big issue. Yeah, but with the corruption thing, it's quite deep in it, because it's like they're coming to certain people like, yeah, if you don't do it, we're gonna kill you, and get the next guy is gonna do it because he knows we're gonna kill him. So certain people accept deals because they don't feel protected, I'm guessing. Before I didn't look at it like that, but I think that sometimes.
Are we talking about the officials in the countries that are receiving aid? And
yeah,
I hear you still. Cause you see how they done Patrice Lumumba, fam, back in the day, fam.
Yeah.
You get me, man. Get like, anyhow, you looking like you're trying to do your own thing and go against the colonialist plan or something like that, fam. Man's getting thumped up out here. Man's getting deaded out here. You get me?
And now it's a drone thing. It's like, I remember back in the days, what's that movie, Syria or something? Like, when I saw that, yeah, there was a movie anyway where they hit them, like, this was 2000s something anyway, and they hit them with a drone from. I was just like, wow, everything's different now. So they don't even have to be, on the ground or like, aware. It's just drone just pops out of the sky and just licks man down.
Corruption's a big problem. Your mic's doing the most. Corruption's a big problem, fam. Like in Jamaica as well. Obviously, that's man's place still. There's an organization called National Integrity Action Group or something like that, where they focus on trying to get rid of corruption in Jamaica, innit? Because obviously, lying in your pockets, in the short term, it's good for you and your immediate family and that. But in the long term, it fucks up the representation of the country and the international standing in the world and all them things. There, it's not a good look. You get me? And then it continues to the cycle, fam, the perpetual cycle of poverty for your nation. You get me? No one don't really want to mess with you in terms of like business, national businesses and all them things there. God, they can't trust man, fam. It's crazy, fam. The corruption thing, I don't know. And like you said, fam, they get a backative from powerful people and globalists and all them things there. So at the same time, going against them or not being that guy, there's probably a long list of people who's lining up to be the guy who will take the bribe. You get me? And oppress the people. You get me?
Yeah, no, 100. I think but I think this comes to the wider thing, and this is why I'm actually like eager not to downplay the benefits of charity or even welfare in terms of them being like good things in themselves. But I think the issue is right now we have a wider economic system in which these things are being used as tools to keep countries dependent and keep countries held down, rather than like help to actually do the thing like help. So basically, just to say, for example, if in Africa there was a country that was like there was an actual Wakanda, for example, I'm pretty sure a lot of people would want that Wakanda to be doing charity in other African nations and bring those nations up. I'm pretty sure if they were to do their charity, it would be beneficial. But I think because we have that wider economic system where you have people like the economic hitmen and wider powers who benefit from a lot of these countries, Africa and the Caribbean themselves, being economically oppressed, then I think that is the reason why charity, as it is right now, or aid or welfare as it is right now, is negative rather than positive.
Cool, man. Unless anybody else wants to continue on the topic there, I say, man, go into the next topic. What are you saying? The man ready to jump in the next one or what?
Yeah,
knife crime, yeah. Like so, so is it about ways of stopping knife crime, or is it the issue with stop and search?
Well, Kuwait is man obviously went to the one meeting the other day with Raspek and Dijon and Borgs. They was discussing knife crime. Knife crime's been talked about a lot on the news recently, and stop and like in relation to should there be more stop and searches? You get me? So I thought it'd just be good to give a breakdown of what happened at that meeting there. Like, what's the situation? What's man looking to do? Like, what the officials are looking to do in response to the knife crime, and just our take on knife crime in general, fam.
All right.
How we see it, you get me? And what man feel like we're supposed to be doing in order to see that decreased, even if it's if it is as much as an issue as it's currently being spoken of, you get me? It's just general still, just general talk on knife crime, you get me, and stop and search still.
Right.
But yeah, as I said, man was at the meeting. Well, I wasn't at the meeting actually. Man got there like kind of after while the meeting was taking place. It was set up by the BBC between, I think, what was it one commanding officer or something in the Brixton police station.
Commissioner or something, Leon.
It was a commissioner, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. In the Brixton police station, and obviously Dejan, I don't know who else was in there. There was probably a few other people in there. And yeah, that was just discussing. From what I got talking to Dejan, his feedback of what happened in the meeting was they was basically trying to explain to him why stop and search is a good thing, and trying to get feedback from him of how we can convince people, the community, that it's a good thing as well, and they should be embracing it rather than, because obviously there's a big kickback to the stop and search thing. Our man's experience is different to what they're saying, the benefits that's coming about as a result of it, what the police are saying, you get me?
Yeah.
So, that's the pick I got still. What are you saying?
I think yeah, just to add on, I think what it was, they were trying to convince, I think, him that obviously that stop and search was beneficial to the community. And also I remember a phrase he said where they were sort of bringing back stop and search, saying that they're bringing it back. But I failed to remember a time it was taken away. So I don't understand where they were coming with that. But what I did definitely notice in what Dijon was explaining to us was that the stop and search rules, the parameters in which they sort of operate stop and search in regards to what reason they can stop you and search you has now, those goalposts have been changed and have been sort of widened to a degree that before they had to have some sort of suspicion of something, that you may have a weapon on you, you may have drugs on you, you may, you know, just something that you're not supposed to have, and they can take off you before it causes any harm. They now are saying that they don't need to have any reason in certain areas, and I think those areas were Wood Green, Tottenham, Newham, and I think there's another 2 areas that I can't think right now off the top of my head, where now they don't need any suspicion or any reason. Yeah.
What they saying? What they saying in those areas what you just listed out? Where is there being a higher rate of knife crime down there?
Yeah. So they're the areas where we've seen a bit of a spike, and I'll say a spike in the media reporting of it as well, because we know this happens all over the country, but they seem to focus obviously on the areas where black and brown people are in the majority. And what they're saying is because of that spike, they are now increasing the powers of the police to allow them to say, boom, yeah, we're just stopping you because, just because. So they can just, on that individual policeman's feelings, on the person that he sees, he can stop and search them and basically, you know, just do what they like basically with you, and you have to comply. So yeah, that's really what I think. That's what I heard from Dijon when he came out. Really, that's the main points I took from it. I don't know what the rest of the panel think on that.
Because you know what it is. So I'm gonna let someone else jump in still, but obviously, I wanted to know the facts in it. Any situation, anything that's happening, if there's been an event or anything like that, before I hear man's interpretation, I want to hear what the actual facts of the matter are. You get me? Like what's man actually said in it, and let me interpret it for myself, and then maybe hear how you interpret the thing still. So it was kind of like, obviously man was like, it was a spontaneous thing still. So I didn't really ask all the right questions on the spot still, but I didn't really get to the actual transcripts of what what the commissioner was saying. You get me? I would have liked to get that still, so man can just know for sure instead of just guesswork, fam. But yeah, anyone else wants to come in still?
Yeah, stop and search. Like for me, yeah, knife crime. The source of it is multiple things in it, yeah, and the police are not gonna be able to stop knife crime in it. Like all they can do is arrest people that are looking to participate in it. So yeah, man, like it's more social issues, and you know, yeah, that we need to tackle.
Yeah, I agree. Sorry to jump in. I agree with you, E. Yeah, it's definitely something to do with thought processes and value of oneself. You get me? So I think what you're saying there is a very pertinent point to this, that stop and search is not going to eradicate it, as they seem to think. Throwing money at the police to go and drapes up youths on the road is not the solution. Because as I've said before, and I've said 101 times, if a youth wants to go out there and cause damage to somebody, it's not only a knife that's going to cause that damage. You get me? They can go and pick up something else and still go and do what they've got to do. And the fact is, we know full well the youths that are running around with these Rambos, yeah, are not actually walking around street daily with these sort of weapons on them. If one of them have got these tools, they're picking up from A and going straight to B, yeah. And sometimes the people who are ready to, who have a very low value of human life for their own brothers, are not the ones actually carrying these things. They're sending someone else to go and bring that, and then they use it or whatever, however it works. So what I'm saying is, stop and search is easily circumnavigated by someone who's got real determination to carry out what they want to do. You get me?
So what would everybody on the panel say is the negative effects of stop and search? Like, why is everybody? I don't know if everybody is against stop and search in regards to the knife crime, what's happening on the street right now. But what's everybody's take on the pros and cons of stop and search then? Let me go with that for a less biased
I
question.
think let me jump in. All right, I think there's room for abuse. Yeah, so once there's room for abuse, you're at the discretion of the officer of what they interpret a criminal or a stabber might be. So, you know, it's not everyone who's on the street who's carrying knives or doing any kind of. The majority of people are not doing this. So it's like, what criteria are you using to pick this particular person? And you know, people's human rights are being violated if they're being stopped and searched. Yeah, funny enough, every time I was coming home from somewhere, I would see like you's being stopped, and I was walk over and like, you know, they'll stop searching and they'll be asked to go. And I'm thinking, you know, if you culturally accept that, then you're like giving away your rights, aren't you? Really?
Yeah, no, I would agree. I think my issue, I agree. Like it's an issue of civil rights and civil liberties, like the right to move around freely in your own country as a citizen of the country is definitely an important one. And the right to privacy is also an important one. Like, please don't have to know the contents of your bag, of your wallet, of all these kinds of stuff. I think stop and search done right is not a problem. I don't think anyone has an issue with stop and search, quote unquote, done right. The problem is police can't do it right, and they never do. And like Raven says, there's room for abuse, and that room is always seemingly taken. So I mean, we was going through some statistics earlier, Leon, and we was looking at the statistics, even on the Metropolitan's own police report. And like I found it hard enough to read it on the Metropolitan police site, so I think they make it as complicated as possible. But I think on other websites as well, you'll see it across the board. The statistics will show that stop and search has at best a 75% success rate. There's some studies that will show that it's only got like at best a 25% success rate, and there's some studies that will show that it has like around 10% really on average success rate, where you're looking at out of every 10 people stopped, only one person being found with something. And when you look at the black community, I think that statistic even raises, because black people are stopped and searched so often. So if you're gonna, I mean, I don't know about you, but a pass rate at university is at least 40%, and I think personally that's a pretty poor pass. So I think the police rate should be at least 70%. If you're gonna do stop and searches, you should get it right at least 7 out of 10 times when you're doing it. Otherwise, what you're doing is you're inconveniencing large numbers of people, and you're criminalizing large numbers of people who are growing up. And there's already, we know, a huge issue between the black community and the police anyway. And when the police start using this force indiscriminately, and we know, if any one of you have been stop and search, I've been stop and search like so many times in my lifetime, it's ridiculous. 3 times within the space of an hour one. And it's not like they stop you calmly or nicely. There's certain times where they put hands on you straight from the start. There's other times where they just start shouting like there's, and then they call the van, and there's a big flipping scene, like there's all 3-5 police around one man. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
How did you feel after that, Scattered? How did you feel after that? Every time you've been stopped and kept there for an hour at a time and that?
No, of course you're vexed, and of course you're upset. There's no getting around it. Do you know what I mean? There's no like, oh, it's just
but did you see it as did you understand that it was a necessary thing that they had to do in order to combat the crime in the area?
Definitely not. It's definitely not.
Did it leave a sour taste in your mouth for police?
100%, man. Full on sour taste, man. Cuts and ups and all of that.
Can you hear what I'm saying? Hear what I'm saying? These stats, what I'm looking at right now, from the Metropolitan Police stop and search dashboard statistics on their website. You can go look that up still. It's like from January 2017 to January 2019, the highest percentage of stops was for, which is at 58%, was for was found. I don't know if it's for or just what they found, because the way the stats are listed is crazy still. But it says 58% was for drugs, the Misuse of Drugs Act. And when we go down to what the reason everybody's talking about stop and searches for is for weapons, like for knives and that, only 17.6% of the searches are yielding weapons. You get me? So I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
See,
Yeah.
on the inconvenience thing, yeah.
Mm.
I remember back in college days now, must have been with a couple of my brethren who got somewhere to be. I think we're going west or something the evening. We're all running for a bus, yeah. Imagine it, police see us, stop us, and we miss our bus. That was
Yeah,
and
probably.
like they're like that was suspicious activity. Like it's like yeah, it's just nuts.
It's mad. I've got some other statistics here. Says black
What's the
people.
source? What's the source? What's the source?
This is the FNC Facts Figure Service.gov.uk. Yeah. It says 2018, black people were 9.5 times as likely to be stopped and searched as white people in 2018. And the previous year, it was just over 8 times as likely. And in 2014-15, they were just over 4 times as likely. And also, among specific ethnic groups, the Chinese and mixed white Asian groups consistently had the lowest rate of stop and search since 2009. So I am seeing that black people are quite a considerable amount in comparison to other groups. So does that mean that black people are more likely to commit these crimes? I saw there was a unfortunate a white lady, young lady on TV the other day who was stabbed. I don't know what area she was from. I think it's Manchester. It was unfortunate, but it's by these stats, it's looking like black people might be more likely, according to the police, to have weapons. I don't see any other reason why you will stop them 9.5 times more than anyone else.
So I don't know. I get the feeling there's a lot of people who will be like, cool, enough people are getting stopped and ain't yielding no results. But from their 17% of 100% of the stops are yielding the results for the targeted thing, then shouldn't everybody else who's being inconvenienced by that, shouldn't they understand? What's man say to that? I know what I'm saying to that. Obviously, I'm looking fire against that. You get me? Because man, like you got to use your intelligence and target your thing better. You get me? Like go after the people. You got to distinguish between man. Like I don't know what you got. Like you got. Like I said, use your intelligence. You're supposed to be trained in this criminology and all of that. You get me? You're supposed to have scientists that's studying how to target these things. Man. You're supposed to be able to distinguish between innocent people and the people that you want to get. You get me? Because like I said, it does. To me, it did breed resentment, fam. When I was a teenager and that man was going to college, fam, I had my big art folder. I remember, fam, I was walking up and down on my lunch break with my big art, you know them big art folders.
Yeah, I know them.
Yeah.
You know, like that, fam. So man definitely a student, you get me? Man's getting stopped and like searched in the back of a squad in the back of a squad car, you get me? Like I didn't know all them things there was illegal, fam. It's random, you get me? Telling about the area is a area of high crime and rare. That's breeding hostility. That's making me like be like, yo, fuck the police. Fam. Why is man troubling me for, fam? I'm fully colleged up. You get me? I don't look like I'm on the road, fam. So
100, yeah.
it breeds resentment. You get me? I didn't understand. I didn't understand nothing about the high crime rate in the area and all of that. I went from that area. You get me? So I didn't know what it's like around there. But I was like, right, like you need to go after who you going after, innit? But I definitely ain't one of them, fam. You get me? So for me, it breeds resentment still.
And that's part of the problem, content. That's part of the problem.
As I said, because then obviously anytime it's an issue where police need to be informed about something, it's not gonna happen from me, you get me?
Yeah.
Because I'm looking at the piece like Rod, they don't mean me no good. So there's a breakdown of trust between me and them. You get me? So that's my take on that still. But yeah, if the man don't want to give the rest of their opinion still, in regards to the effect, the impact the stop and searches is having on innocent people.
It's not going to be very successful. It's hard to believe that in the 21st century, the only way you can think to solve a crime is to just implement mass random stop and searches. It doesn't work. It doesn't provide a permanent solution to the problem. So why are they still trying to propagate this thing? And plus, it's not as if it ever stopped in the first place. Black men, black women are still experiencing being stopped and searched for no reason at all. So it's not like they suddenly stopped doing it for 5 years. They've been doing it, but it hasn't provided a solution to their problem. So pushing for it to do it even more is not going to provide the solution. So that's very stupid on their part that they think they should do that. I mean, how are they going to start doing the stop and search? One moment we're being told that they don't have enough officers to put bobbies on the beat, but then somehow they're now going to have enough officers to just go on mass random searches of primarily black people. This is not going to provide a solution. It's going to create more division, hatred between the black community and the police, and quite rightly so. It's not going to provide any form of solution at all. It won't even come halfway close. I know they can massage the statistics to make it look like they're doing something, but in the greater scheme of things, they're not going to resolve it. If they're just going to rely on stop and searches, it's not going to provide a solution. It's a waste of time, and it's just going to make loads of people unhappy for damn good reason as well.
That's what I'm wondering. Is it creating more problems than the solutions, what they're trying to go for?
Yeah, of course it is.
Yeah, it definitely is, bro. And that's the thing. It adds to the problem more than it takes away. And we got to look at what happened in, was it Glasgow?
But it's a good one though. Is the problems that it's creating more devastating than the solutions that it creates? I'm taking the 17% of searches like that, finding knives and that.
How are they gonna achieve that? Those solutions. They need manpower. They don't even have manpower. So it's an operation that has failed before they've even implemented it, because you need manpower to implement those stop and searches. And if you've been reducing the police force for how many years, where are you suddenly going to get all this manpower? Are you going to suddenly start giving community officers powers to stop and search? There are not even that many community officers. So it's a plan, a project that's going to fail before it's even been pushed through. So it won't provide a solution. It'll just be theories, but it won't actually provide any real facts.
Another problem for me is that they rely on the individual's judgment. They rely on that policeman making that correct judgment on who is worthy of being stopped and searched. Now the problem is those people can have certain thought patterns or beliefs which impact their decisions. So already that's a problem. That's an issue. It's not really done on intelligence, more on a fear that may have been put into that individual person through their upbringing or however they got those fears. You know what I mean? Mm. So for me, that's another issue. When they had the same problems in Glasgow, which had real high knife crime, I'm sure they put a lot of money into the actual community to actually help solve the problems. And because they've actually had some solution, you know, they've had some solution. It's dropped there by a great deal, but that was because they invested heavily in the community and less in the actual police. And what we're seeing here in our communities is the exact opposite. And that
invested in them in what way? Invested in them in what way? I heard that as well. That they brought the crime rate down like a crazy amount in Glasgow, but I never heard no elaboration on what exactly is what they done to make that change. You get me?
Yeah, I don't have the details. I don't know if anyone else can.
Yeah, they started responding to knife crime and the street violence that in Glasgow as a social health issue and issue of public health rather than knife crime. So if they would and the gang issue more generally. So instead of just doing random like stop and searches and things of this nature, if they were to go out and they were to see young people out at 1 o'clock at night, for example, instead of just searching them, they might take them home, find out what's going on with their parents, refer them to to the social services or social care, things like this. So there was less pressure, or if someone was caught like for their first crime, for example, they would be referred to like programs to help them get back into work, get them back into training, and like just basically like things of this nature. So the crime element of it was not necessarily put at the forefront or the like as something that they needed to punish heavily. It was more about understanding where their families come from, understanding what's going on in their personal lives, and the people who wanted to move away from crime were given the opportunity to do so, and the people who were more stubborn repeat offenders who showed basically they were going to be persistent in crime, but then that's when they brought the harsher criminal punishments down. But for the people who are just getting caught in it because they were either threatened or they're afraid, they're carrying a knife because of for protection issues, all these kinds of things, they were basically led out of given like opportunities on apprenticeship schemes and all these types of things. So yeah.
Right. So I guess one of the things where I was going to try to do is find solution, right? So as I'm looking at the data, if it is true that black people are 9.5 times more likely to be stopped, then that means maybe when it comes to find a solution, they should receive that much more than every other group. So maybe if you're going to directly target black people when it comes to stop and search, maybe you should directly be funding the solution. So here is a government funding just for black people. And I'm thinking, if there was such a government funding, what would it pay for? That's an open question. What would that funding pay for to lower knife crime in some of the black communities?
Well, the aim would be to change how some of these youth are thinking. The aim would be to change how they think about themselves. And to achieve something like that, I think you have to give them purpose. So we'd be looking at avenues and ways of giving those youth purpose in their lives to let them focus on something else. That's just one thing that comes into my mind straight away still.
Right. One thing, and that's a good point. Very good point.
I was thinking of something like at an age between like under 12s where loads of black youths was, I don't know if you know about like, is it EGL or PGL? Like at the end of year 6, we went to some place where there's loads of other schools and we did activities. So basically a place where loads of black children was linking up year on year, getting to know each other and having less self-hate and being taught history and knowledge of self and community values and all these kind of things.
That's another great idea. See, so far 2 ideas seem to be highly solution based, and I can't flaw them. And just to add to both of them, I would say when I look at the research of a lot of people who go to say like community schools or Pan-African schools or these kind of schooling, what is taught within them is obviously to love yourself, but also it lowers the value of you wanting to harm anyone who looks like you because you understand what they're going through directly and you understand you don't want to contribute to that pain furthermore. So I do think that community schooling could be a potential solution for people who find themselves violently trying to harm each other with weaponry. I think I think if you want to get some kind of government backing, maybe they can pay for that rather than stop and search and all that kind of stuff. From what I'm seeing, that I'm seeing very few people who go to these kind of schooling these kind of events, consistently, who end up wanting to go around stabbing each other. Just from what I'm seeing, I could be wrong, but from the data I've seen, it seems to be quite a positive outcome. So maybe that could be something we discuss as a community, as to get more of our youth into like black led class groups that teach about knowledge of self, that teach about community, that teach about some kind of narrative that isn't destructive.
Leon, I'm gonna read something from a paper which might actually be a solution, and it primarily has to do with what happened in Scotland, because that was mentioned earlier. So maybe from that we might be able to get something. It says here, I'm looking at the Guardian, it says that the Scottish approach was conventional at first. What they started doing, so basically they campaigned really hard to get the legislation around knife crime changed so people would be more likely to get a mandatory sentence. They then went on to say that using intelligence from police operations, the VRU identified those people most likely to offend and asked them to voluntarily attend the sheriff's court. They didn't have to come, but they were encouraged to by the community police, teachers and social workers, and a lot of them did come. It then says the police had mapped all the gangs, and when people got there, they saw their own pictures up in the court. The session started off with a warning. We know who you are, and if you carry on with this lifestyle, we're going to come down on you really hard. We're going to arrest you, and we'll arrest the rest of the gang. You'll be going to prison if this carries on. But they also started doing something else, because it says that when they came to court, it became a much more creative and holistic approach. It says we spoke about the injuries. So basically, they would have people come in there to see these people who were allegedly guilty, and he said we spoke about the injuries we see as a result of the violence, and had a mom talk about losing her son. That really hit home, explains one of the social workers. Finally, they were offered a way out. There was help with housing, relocation, employment, and training. They were given a number to call if they wanted to take the offer up. Huge numbers of them did so, were put into the program, and are no longer in the gang lifestyle. And as Scattered Mind said earlier, it then goes on to say the decision to treat knife crime as a public health issue rather than simply a police matter appears to have underpinned both the direction and support. So it seems they were implementing a program which helped with housing, relocation, employment, and training. And they said that was what was helping them reduce the knife violence. But it has to be said, unfortunately, at the start, before they kicked off this program, they did use stop and search.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
All I gotta say is wow, man. You know what I mean? That's like a drop mic thing man's just read there, because that just shows the difference in how they treat certain communities of a certain demographic as opposed to others. And I think it just comes back to that being treated as a health issue over a criminal issue. Yeah, that's what was spoken. That's what I took from that. There, you get me?
Mm.
Yeah. Well, who was the because it wasn't just a police initiative, innit? So who took on that? Who initiated that project there?
I'll just check. I've got her name, but I'm trying to find her actual title.
What's the project?
Sorry, what was that?
What's the project called again? Sorry, I missed it.
They didn't give me the name for the project. I'm looking at it on The Guardian. I'm trying to find out the woman's name. It says something here. They had one organization called Medics Against Violence, but the actual program, they don't actually give a name for the program in this news article. There's another one I've got here, though, which is called No Knives, Better Lives. That's one program. It's called No Knives, Better Lives, a program aiming to raise awareness of the consequences of carrying a knife, and which provides information for young people. So that's one program.
Because I'm thinking, I think I remember Raspek, I think it was, you said that the police are an enforcement agency. So in terms of like reasoning with them and developing programs, there's not really any point in doing that. Like they're there to enforce orders, what they've been given. So I don't know what organization has got the type of credibility or clout that's able to influence police organizations as well as the courts or where all those same institutions that was involved in this Glasgow case. I don't know who's got the clout to influence them to align with similar programs, like that. So I don't know. Maybe we should look at who are the organizations that initiated this and was able to put all of the different teams together and have them acting on one accord. Then something like that could happen over here, because just from saying that they had the pictures of the suspected individuals in the courtroom already, shows me that that's intelligence-led policing, isn't it? Like they're targeting the specific individuals. So there's all the people that's like getting stopped and searched that's got nothing to do with knife crime, which is the reason what they're saying that they want to raise stop and search. They're not going to be there's not going to be no problems coming from innocent people getting stopped. There's not going to be no upset people because we're getting stopped. Like there might be more of a willingness to cooperate. It sounds bad saying that still. to cooperate with organizations that's connected to the police in order to see a reduction in knife crime. I didn't say directly with the police.
Yeah, you think that one up,
Yeah.
Like that, fam. I had to clean up that one still. But yeah, like if people want to see knife crime stop in it, people definitely want to see knife crime stop still. So if man really believed that somebody was coming with like tangible solutions, to quote Raven, to see this thing drop, like the knife crime thing drop, then man will back that. You get me? But obviously, true man's experiences with police has been negative. Man don't want to work with police, innit? So in order to stop like the next generations coming up having that same negative relationship with police, it don't make sense doing more stop and search, like more random, should I say, stop and searches on people that are innocent, because it's just gonna, if the next generations are anything like how we was when we was growing up, especially like the one I'm talking about, not even the ones who was on the road, like the ones who was innocent, who was going to school, going to college, like staying off the road, not getting caught up in no trouble, but still getting caught up in the fishnet of stop and search and negative interactions with police. Like that, fam. To avoid that happening, then it has to be like you can't just do more stop and searches because in the area there's knife crime is on the rise. Yeah, so man need to look at who are the different organizations that were involved that made this whole thing come together, you get me? Rather than just looking at the police, because as I said, the relationship with police and the community right now is shaky, fam. For good reason as well, fam, because too many innocent people are being targeted, you get me?
Yeah, definitely. And this is why the solutions we've laid out, I think, and that Raven got to hammer out were definitely the most important and vital. I think to add to them is about offering opportunities. So a lot of these youngsters, a lot like for within the black community, for example, it's been about 55% unemployment rate for young black men for about at least a decade now. It's like it's not moved. So I mean, out of every 2 black men that you see on the street who are under 25, 1 of them don't have a job. And that's so every 10, 5 of them don't have a job. So when you have those kinds of statistics, you're already you're asking for issues and you're asking for problems. So, but at the same time, we as a community need to say it's not about us just asking the system or whatever it is to provide us with jobs or find us opportunities, but we really need to get more innovative and more active in creating jobs and opportunities for our community ourselves. So yeah.
I was doing some research, Leon, because you asked a question about the program, how it came about. One of the organizations that I saw that was working in Glasgow was a place called Medics Against Violence. And basically, these are healthcare workers in Scotland who deal with the consequences of violence every day. And there's an interesting thing on their website where they're just listing various things: school program, Scottish government, VRU, which is the Violence Reduction Unit. And it says under Scottish government, the MAV, which is the name of the organization, which is Medics Against Violence, clearly says here was started with and has continued to be supported by funding from the Scottish government. And we share with them the common aim of violence prevention for a safer Scotland. So that's the key where the funding for these programs came from. The Scottish government seems to have been diverting funds, listening to these people, how they wanted to run the programs and giving them the funds to do it whilst they worked closely with the police. So he would, I guess, Sajid Javid in the UK, he's Home Secretary. He'd have to start looking at trying getting government funding for some of these programs. And we could try and copy what the Scottish people did, where the program, as was mentioned more than once, was looked at as a health issue. And basically they started providing, like I said, housing, relocation, employment, and training. But that takes money. And I guess the government would have to be the ones providing the funding for that. That would be one thing. It wouldn't be the only thing, but that would be a good start.
Okay. Yeah, man. I don't know what's the rest of the man them saying in regards to that. Everybody mad that palm mood, mad thing. They say I fall off.
No, I'm here, but I'll give somebody else a chance to speak, man. I'm talking about.
Like, I don't know, like I'm probably just so against the stop and search thing, yeah, that it's just like it's not too much for man on it. It's just like, yeah, stop and search is dead. And yeah, man, like we need the social change. Like I think in somewhere like London, to do what they did in Scotland, yeah, it would be very expensive. And yeah, man, I think like Brother Books was saying about the demographic that they was targeting, I think that would have been increased their motivation for them to execute on that.
Do you think, does anybody think that there's a way, or that man should develop ways of gaining control, like order in our community that is fully autonomous, like that's community orientated, without going into any outside bodies?
I think that's the ideal situation. But one of the difficulties I think is like, I think we need to be living in much closer proximity to like execute that on a big scale.
What do you mean, much closer proximity to?
Like we need to be living in the same neighborhoods.
Okay.
Do you see what I'm saying? Like, yeah, then we can have like youth centers in strategic places and other social programs. Like,
I feel like wherever we're scattered around, all the different the demographics where we're scattered around, there's probably like concerned people, like a good sizable amount of concerned people in each different demographic. Each different location where we make the demographics in London, you get me? Or where anywhere where the knife crimes is taking place, you get me? I feel like there's enough concerned people still. I can't say enough still, car. Until man see reductions from any action that we're taking, then man know who we need or what type of people we need, you get me? But I feel there's a lot of concerned people where we can develop programs that we can try and execute in those different areas to see if we can try and bring some type of change.
Yeah, but we can do it. Definitely, we can do it. They do that for terrorists, don't they? They have a de-radicalization program, don't they? Which we might argue about whether it is good or not, but that's for a different show. But they have a de-radicalization program. So you can have a program where you do have people, whether they're teenagers, whether they're adults, whether they're in their middle ages or whatever, who are involved in crime. There could be a program where you are helping to try and change them. Technically speaking, we wouldn't necessarily have to wait for the government. We could try and set it up, fundraising and whatnot, or you could get wealthy Black people, men, women, to contribute to this organization setting up a program. And part of that program would be employment training and would be helping to not de-radicalize, but, take someone away from that mentality. So I guess you'd have psychologists there, sociologists, or social workers, I don't know. So it would be a case of working on their minds and not just trying to help them with material gain through work. It would be helping them. And I guess within the program, we would try and figure out things that they might like for fun that would bring a team effort. I don't know, sport or something that could be tried as well.
Yeah, I suppose like communication is key in it, or one of the keys. Like when there's distance, as long as there's strong lines of communication, then we can still organize and execute.
Yeah, you still. What's man think about having direct communication with some of the suspected offenders?
Well, like the police. What do you mean?
No, like people who are concerned, like people from the community like us who are concerned and want to see the reduction in violent crime, or even other people that are in the community that are concerned, not necessarily us, that want to see a reduction, but want to do like an in-house thing. You get me? What's man feel like having direct communication with some of the offenders? I don't know. You might think that they're evil people, and they don't need no like money to just indirectly cause some type of effect to them, or does man need some direct counseling, or I don't know, just opening lines of communication just to assess the situation better, to get a better understanding of the people who are trying to affect you. Get me?
Yeah, that makes 100% sense. I think one thing we should be trying to do, and it might even work better on Hangouts, to be honest, is to maybe have a dialogue with people who find themselves in this lifestyle back and forth, to actually like discuss the realities of what they're going through. Like I speak to a lot, to be honest, because of some of the work I do, but to just to get people, because obviously there's what people think is going on in someone's mind, and there is what actually is going on in someone's mind, and how they process things or how they don't process things. So opening that communication, I think, is quite key. So maybe we can like maybe start do some reach out programs where we actually try to set out some hangouts to like just pick the mind of some of the people who go through these experiences. Or it might not necessarily be the people who are out doing it. It could be the people who are affected by it, people who are victims of it directly, or whatever it might be. I don't know. This could be something that we could maybe set up, hopefully, in the short time.
Yeah, I hear you still, but a next thing that just pops into my mind as well is what I hear a lot of the time as well. A lot of people say that some of these youths who are keeping up a lot of fuckery on road are just seeking attention in it, and to give them that direct attention is helping to perpetuate the behavior. If they know that people are gonna start coming and looking for them and giving them some type of attention, then they're gonna like other people are gonna see that and be like, yeah, I want attention as well. Let me go out there and try and stab somebody. I don't know. In a way, that might be part of the reason why a lot of youths are out there boring up each other.
Well, until you have a dialogue, you're never going to fully know, right? But I don't think it'll be as straightforward as that. I think we are in a kind of society now where there is clout chasing of all kinds in all areas of activity, right? But the thing is, from what I'm seeing, a lot of the people, I'm not necessarily talking about people carrying knives. I'm talking about where there's rivalries of people who are stabbing each other. You generally see hate. You generally see people where it's like they have a low regard for the people they're stabbing. These are the people who are probably interesting to talk to. You know, and once again, it comes down to clever questioning. You know, we want to frame the conversation where something is learnt from it. You know, and we're not judging, we're not insulting, but we are intrigued. But you know, we are gonna try to find solutions. Like, the goal is you're living this lifestyle. You know, if you could click your fingers and have everything change, would you click your fingers or would you carry on living that lifestyle? So this is the key things of, you know, what motivates someone. Like, for example, you know, I've seen some like people speak, this was a few years back, where there was like a young lady saying, you know, she wanted to be a stripper. So what would happen before was people wanted to be a football player or a lawyer. You know, they fell short from that, so they became strippers, right? And then you have people where it's like their goal is to be a stripper. So already you have, you have the mindset of what people are seeing, where they've already limited their kind of like, you know, the depth of where they can go. And I'm thinking, when we talk to people who engage in some of these kind of like lifestyles, you know, have they limited themselves where they can see nothing past this kind of back and forth rivalry? So these are the kind of questions I want to ask to see how far their mind goes when it comes to betterment.
They would have to start initiating something in prisons, because what you have is a situation where there are people who are committing crime, whether they are teenagers or adults, who are going in prison, but then they're coming out and they're just repeating what they're doing. So I think the program, which would deal with things from looking at helping them and asking them what it is they want from life and offering them a tangible alternative, that would also need to be done via the prison program. Because if you're doing something outside, what about those who are in prison already? They might have been, you know, have no hope, and they're just coming out and they're just going to do the same thing again. So the program would also have to be, but then again, either we do it, you still have to go through the government one way or the other, because the government's not going to allow you to implement a program through their prisons without their permission. but we need to look at those who are in prison, because they're going to come out and they might just keep repeating the same thing.
Definitely. Now, question to the people viewing. We've got 65 people watching and 24 likes. So if you all could just press like now, yeah, that would be great. That's for COE to support the unbiased content that he's pushing out. But also, you're here now live. Is there any questions on knife crime you want to ask the panel, or is there anyone who wants to jump on? Let us know now. But while you're thinking of the question to ask, you can press like. So I'm going to do it because I'm actually lying because I haven't done it myself. Look at it, it's gone 25 now. Magic. Yeah. So 63 people, press it, do the thing. But also think of any questions you want to ask about knife crime.
Yeah, so I'll jump in whilst people are thinking, I suppose, of the questions before they start popping up, Raven, if that's all right. And I think I'm really in tune with what you said about we have to help ourselves. And when you spoke about actually setting up something like a Hangouts, because that's the sort of world that we live in now, innit? This sort of internet-based way of doing things. And you know, I think that's this media is very important, because we need to ask the questions and very clever questions at that, just to see the thought processes of the youth or people involved in these sort of things, you know, and at the same time also controlling our narrative, because you know a lot of the news that goes out, you know, is really negatively impacts those same youth on the road. So you know, I'm just all for that. We have to definitely help each other and help ourselves, and we can't be looking outside for any help. We definitely need to be taking this problem, taking responsibility for this problem that we're seeing unfold in front of us. Even though we might not have been the people that perpetrated it or started it, you know, it's come from there's so many different factors involved, but it's definitely our problem and our issue that we're going to have to deal with. So yeah, it's an in-house thing that we definitely have to deal with, and I think opening up a direct dialogue like they did in Glasgow, like Witness mentioned earlier when he read out that statement about them going to the court and having their pictures up and them being, you know, it was addressed. You know, that's something I think that will definitely be a positive movement, forward steps in the right direction.
I'm against that. I'm the odd one out here. I'm sorry, guys, but I'm against the hangout thing, because I think if we're going to be talking to people, it needs to be done privately. They have more confidence to open up if it's done privately. I don't think they want to do it if it's on air, on a hangout.
Well, here's my thinking behind all this, right? The internet allows people to like log on and be call themselves Bart Simpson 2, you know, Humpty Dumpty 1, whatever, right? So that allows people to actually like have a form of privacy in who they actually are, but they can speak about their universal experience. So that's my goal. And obviously, I mean, just to expand on it, it could be a platform where you're finding one person from one particular group and one person from another particular group who they've had some kind of disagreement in the past, and they can actually appear digitally for a mediator to talk about this issue, to try to find solutions. So this is my thinking when it comes to that, how to use the medium.
Yep, there's a question out there by a guy called Kang X. He says, I don't even think he's talking to us directly, but he goes, thousands of discussions have taken place, but not much change happens. Why do you think that is? All talk and no action. I think it's a lot more complicated than that. I think there are a lot of people who are talking. I think there are a lot of organizations, independent organizations, getting involved in trying to help. I just don't think there are enough of them, so they're not able to cope with the numbers of the levels of the knife crime. I think certain programs need to be initiated by ourselves, ideally, but I still don't know how we're going to deal with the prisons, but we should do it ourselves. And I don't think there are enough of those organizations. The ones that do exist are doing the best that they can, and they're brilliant. But I think they're struggling. They're overwhelmed by the numbers. So that's one of the answers as to why it hasn't reduced. They have had successes, but not enough to eliminate knife problem. So that's it. They're overwhelmed with the statistics.
Fair dues. Any questions from the audience? They're just talking to
Oh, so
themselves.
let me look, man. Question from Real TV. Do you guys think having a better relationship with the police will improve the black community?
I think that's a question you should ask the police, and you reverse it around. Do they think having a better relationship with the people they serve might improve whatever the question was? Because once again, I also get from the point of power, like who has the power in the conversation. So whoever has the power has the responsibility to reform themselves. Has most responsibility.
But do we actually know why these knife crimes are taking place? Is it drug related? Is it just beef related? What is actually inspiring the use of knives? Is it territories alone? Or is it a combination of all of these things? Or are they just little guys who are working for a bigger man who's selling hard drugs and he's just using them as the couriers and they're fighting amongst the other?
Well,
areas?
no, I mean, you don't necessarily get drug dealers stabbing each other like that. I think from what I'm seeing, from the work I'm involved in, it really is just like people from certain areas having disagreements with people from other areas for some reason, and one person was hit, so there's a retaliation, and it's a back and forth retaliation. From what I'm seeing, like, okay, you got me, so I'm gonna get you. Then you know, social media comes in where people want to prove they can go to certain areas and you know, say we were here.
Okay, I see. Thanks. I'm going to mention something controversial then. I saw this in a documentary years ago, and this used to happen in America, New York, Chicago, amongst the Italians, Sicilians. They used to kill each other. And then one day, a guy called Lucky Luciano called a number of families together. They sat down and they came up with a code how they would conduct business amongst themselves. They wouldn't just go out and start doing things which led to the St. Valentine's Day massacre. They decided to come up with a code how they would operate. Do you think it would be possible for someone who those kind of gangs would trust, who would bring them all together, they would sit down and they would accept the fact, okay, we understand this is the business. You have to do this business. There's nothing of an alternative we can give you. But if you're conducting this business, these are the rules. This is how you go about it. So you don't kill on a whim or creating some set of codes for them. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that is definitely achievable. Like I said, you have concepts that people. It comes down to who implements it, right? But you have concepts where someone says "don't snitch," right? And then you see that's now a code, and people live by these kind of codes. So whoever is there to bring value to it, it can easily be digested. Speaking of the Italian gangster family and stuff like that, I'm reminded of a scene in Godfather, very good film, where I forgot who the guy's name is, but they're in a circle and they're discussing the concept of we don't actually sell drugs. I think we should sell drugs because there's a lot of money to be made. And one of the gangsters stood up and says, "Yeah, something like, let's give it to the niggers.
Keep it in the niggers' neighborhoods."
Yeah, keep it." And then everyone shook their head. That makes sense. And this is something that I just want black people to digest, really, because there was a whole like movement of in America where when they wanted to make mafioso type of rap, and the first thing they would want to do is take their name from Italian gangsters, even though there was not that you should be taking your name from a gangster. If you did, there actually were black gangsters, but not that you should take from them. You should take from black constructive people, or take your own name. But it's interesting that like that concept there, you know. It seems no matter what area of activity, black people seem to be pushed to the bottom, mistreated, but yet they seem to always ignore that and value ideas from those kind of communities, whatever. But yes, to answer your question, I definitely think a code of conduct amongst people could do that, and I guess it could come down to okay, look. What is the activity you're trying to achieve? So let's just pretend it's drugs. I don't think it is drugs. But let's just say, okay, we want to sell drugs, right? Because we believe we can make X amount of money. However, if 4 people die in this area, the police are going to come down heavy on the drugs and we make no money. So we have to find a way to not kill each other while selling drugs. Although I don't believe it is selling drugs. I generally believe it is territorial, you know, you attack my friend, I attack you. And then clout chase and that kind of stuff. From what I've seen, I'm from literally from the work I do and what I've seen, that's what it is. Literally. And then I don't want to tap into you have the whole the rap phenomenon, or the drill phenomenon, where they're rapping about the stuff they're doing and they're egging each other on and they're wearing masks and all that kind of stuff. They can't get record deals because they can't really show who they really are and that kind of stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, if we want a better example, rather than using the Sicilians or the Italians, we could look at the 1992 Watts Truce Agreement between the Crips and the Bloods, where they were able to declare some kind of, follow some kind of code, which for a short period, but for a period, there was peace. So they were able to achieve it as black men in the States. So I think could be done here as well.
I'll add that definitely steps are being made to open lines of communications between people, families that are in dispute at the moment. I know that's definitely happening, and strides have been made. But yeah, that's all I'll say on that still.
But then the people who would be talking then, because I'm still pushing for this thing where you will get people talking from these different groups. So you need someone or a group of people who are trusted. So then we might be looking to people who are already on the scene, who have left that lifestyle and are youth workers. Get them together, working together in one program that brings people to the table to discuss peace. But this would have to be done privately. I don't think it would have to be done publicly. Because
I definitely think there is a need to do certain things privately, but I do think that there has to be a learning.
Yo,
we lost him.
Hey, Raven, your mic just went out, fam. I can't hear you still.
You're Raven.
You don't know if you can hear Raven, but we can't hear your mic still. I don't know what's going on. Until you sort that and come back. In the meantime, let me read a comment from Scientific Method. He said, there is evidence to show that stop and searches minimize violent crimes in affected areas because the kids... you got kicked out? So you're back? Yeah. Because the kids become less likely to always be carrying when they know they keep getting stopped and searched. And we kind of touched on that still. With like, right, even if increasing stop and searches reduces knife crime, but to what cost? If a lot of innocent people are even all the statistics show that even though they're looking for knives, most of the stop and searches don't yield that in it. And I think 75% was it. Man was looking at the Met Police statistics, result in no further actions, NFAs. You get me? So that's a lot of innocent people getting stopped and nothing coming as a result of it. So it's the negative impact it's having versus the positive impact. Like, is that a good thing or a bad thing? You get me? Like that still. But yeah, if you wanna continue on where you was before your mic cut out, Raven.
Yeah, well, I'm reading some stuff, and I think James has asked. I think if I can shorten this question,
man, like James.
I think he's asking, what if it was done proportionally? I think you were saying. So, what if it wasn't black people are 9.5 times more, but whatever the racial population is, if there's 80% more white and 20% black, and that it's represented in the stop, would that be a better thing? I think as a overall cause, people are feeling that you're losing your freedoms. I think there was a fear when 9/11 happened, before then, where it's like, terrorist attack or so-called terrorist attack, and then now the American government are allowed to look into your phones, enter your house, all the rest of it, and people think that there is a value in having certain kinds of freedoms, regardless of what is happening. And there's always a more constructive, beneficial way to try to find solutions rather than take away freedoms that people fought to have. So I think that's where we're kind of at when it comes to stop and search. That's where my mind's at. And also, I do feel there's things that can be done in the community, and I really do think that community schooling and team bonding and those kind of stuff, from what I've seen, really works. If you take people and you put them in a cultural schooling environment, whether it's Saturday schools or after school clubs, whatever it might be, they really do not want to harm people who look like them. They really don't. They really want, like, go to certain areas and try to stick knives into other people who they see are in the same struggle as them. It really works that way from what I've seen. So that's one solution I'll push.
And those who still don't accept what you're saying, and they want to push for, in the sense that they still 100% believe in this mythical solution of stop and search. My question to them is, if they've been reducing the police force for more than 5 years now, and there's lack of manpower, how on earth is this stop and search going to be implemented successfully? Where's the manpower going to come from? Where are they going to suddenly get all the officers to start doing it? It's not economically feasible for them to do it at the moment. That's why they've been reducing officers for years. So where are they going to get the manpower? What, they're going to start hiring soldiers to take those roles? I mean, where's, if you just look at the simple economics of it, they don't have enough people. They've retired people, reduced the force. Where is the manpower going to come for this supposed London-wide stop and search? Where's it going to come from?
Now, another question. Do you think some elders of the community should go and police the neighborhood at night? You talking about community policing? That's from a guy called Real TV. When you look at in America, when the Nation of Islam was formed, even though they're heavily criticized by non-community people, one of the things they did, or one of the many things they did that was really good, was they actually lowered the drug dealing and some of the gang fights that were going on in the communities, because they literally went out there in the masses and stopped it. That takes organization, and that is something I would push, as in, like, to go out and talk to people, or to take them off certain areas and incorporate them in what you're doing. You know, that is definitely a solution. If that's what that is the only way I can interpret your message when it comes to community policing.
Scientific Message said self-policing just leads to vigilante groups becoming mafia gangsters who end up bullying their own communities for personal gain. That's definite. I don't agree with that, fam.
I don't agree with that at all, fam.
That's how police got started, fam.
But people still haven't described what they actually mean by self-policing. Are you going to start making citizens arrests? Is that what we mean?
So it's a witness. I think it's more of an engagement thing, you know, more of being out there, being visible, and having these youths answer to people they see as elder than them in the community, people that have to have some sort of respect for, you know. I think it's more of an engagement thing, not necessarily a policing.
But that's what I'm saying. But if it's the youths that stabbing each other up, what would make them have respect for you? You have to be shown.
That's when the guys who are in that get involved. The ones who are there, who've changed and realised that it wasn't the way forward. That's when they.
So then, if it's a self-policing thing, then it would be a physical thing. Like if man's looking to do something, or man taking a talk.
Yeah.
Then what's man gonna do? Man gonna have to put hands on man.
See, I don't agree with it. Yeah, I still go back to the thing. Get the main gangs to sit down, talk a truce, code, and then they go out. But trying to police them, that's you're not gonna police. It ain't gonna work. So
well, witness, if you've got a code, code would have to be kind of policed in a certain way, wouldn't it? So it still brings it down that route for me.
Yeah, but the people who look at that code will only be like within those groups, those gangs sitting down, and the few prized people that would be allowed to sit amongst them and talk about the code. And they would, I don't know, because if you're from the outside looking in, trying to police, isn't that going to exasperate the situation even more? That's going to create that them and us. Oh, who are you to start telling me what I can and can't do? And you know, so that's
well, it'll be good if we got certain members of the Nation of Islam to come speak, because I don't think they necessarily did it that way, but they were definitely effective, and they were looked at as a constructive authority, where it's like, you know, like when you getting gang culture, if that's what we're talking about here, there is authorities, there is people who you look up to, and there is certain, you recognize, say, the police. You don't do certain things around the police, and but then you might disrespect your own community. I think what the Nation of Islam did is they became like authority of respect, you know, or even fear in some degrees, where it's like, okay, when these guys come down, there's certain things we just don't do. I think as a community, we want to try to build that.
yeah, that's nice, but it doesn't sound like policing. So it's obviously something that's effective, but it's not policing. So the policing thing should be like thrown to one side. So whatever the Nation of Islam was doing, I guess that's a one blueprint. But I wouldn't, from what you've described, I wouldn't even regard what you said they did as policing. They were doing
Probably
something.
no. I was just using it as an example of where people in the community came together to in a collective to fix issues in a community directly, as in they went to the places where people were, and the activities they did stopped.
And that's the thing for me. There's things that we've there are processes that have already been sort of put in place or been practiced in the past, which for some reason were dismantled, but were working at the time they were being used. You get what I'm saying? So
Dismantled by who?
sorry,
Dismantled by who?
I don't know. I don't know. Powers that be, because you can see that with the Black Panthers in America, when they set up their policing of their communities against the abuse and the brutality that they were receiving from the authorities.
FBI.
Yeah, well, whoever. Yeah, I'm gonna say, you know, but it was dismantled.
J. Edgar Hoover coming with a COINTELPRO in it.
So pro, yeah, man. So you know what I mean. So there are things that were working, and they've been stopped, and that's what we have to realize. That's why we have to do it for ourselves and really bring it in house, because there are powers out there that don't want these problems to be fixed. That's the reason why we're problems now.
Have we considered who may be benefiting from knife crime other than undertakers?
Well, the prison system, definitely. Yeah, that's when we're talking about those prisons for profit. Yeah, they're definitely benefiting from this. Yes, that's one. And that's why I think we always have to look that money trail. Where that money trail goes is where you'll usually find the problem to the issue that you're seeing at hand.
Never forget that James Cameron not too long ago was trying to build a prison
in Jamaica.
To send Jamaican people who are here to be in jail in Jamaica. Now, what value or benefit does that have to the British public to build a jail in another country where you send people, right? Because the prison industrial complex, whatever, is big business, and that's why people can invest in it in certain countries. It really is. You have people who can work for to low to no pay, and also in certain countries, once a person goes there, they lose the right to vote. So imagine you're throwing certain kind of people in jail, and you know that when they come out, they can't vote you out because they've lost the right to do that. It's like a win-win situation. So, you know, I don't necessarily want to go down the route of, you know, people who's keeping us down and stuff, but you know, it does go on. Now, guys, I'm gonna have to jump off soon, but what I wanted to say before I jump off is like a whole rounded solution, and that is in our corner. I'm pushing the idea down where people in the Black community who have businesses, whether it's online or in stores, they come down to our corner. We're gonna pick one day. We have to talk about it, and then basically they're gonna talk about their business, talk about what inspired them and how and the challenge they go through, and then they'll have questions that they can ask. But I'm looking to get a couple of, it could be 5, 10, 15 black people with businesses to come to the park on one particular day, maybe even a hangout, who knows, and literally talk about the business, to which we can answer questions. And for me, this is a top end solution, as in, like, having group economics and and second generation wealth and stuff. So just out there, that's one of the things I'm looking to do in our corner, is to get people with businesses to come down. So if you have a business, or you have people have businesses, spread the word out that we're doing an our corner. We're going to try to get you guys together to talk about your business, to help inspire the youth, to inspire people who want to actually start their own business, and also to promote your business so more black people come and shop there. So if that's good, I'm going to say I'm jumping out. Good discussion. Carry on without me. I've got some work to do.
family.
But thanks for the invite. You guys are great.
Big up, rap. Big
Respect,
up.
brother.
Yeah.
Cool, man.
Easy.
Yeah. no,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, what's the rest of the panel saying as well? Still, true stories ain't gonna front, fam. These gangster hours here. More time, man's getting ready to drop out as well. You get me? if the man want to add on still, let me know, man. I'll keep the thing running for a piece more. You get me? If not, if the man are good, I scattered. Where you at, fam? Been silent for a while still. If the man are good, then yeah, man can wrap up the thing still.
Say that it's definitely our problem. It's definitely something we have to deal with. I don't think we have to look outside to any other demographic or people to help us, and we don't need to definitely depend on any of them, but we can use what's available there for us to build something that will become sustainable, you get me, and become viable, so that nothing can be scuppered or stopped, you get me. So the solution for me is definitely an in-house thing. I think the ideas that Rap Raven put forward infallible. There's some great ideas that can definitely be worked on and move forward on. I understand Witness's point of view about keeping it sort of private as well, and that's something I've taken out of this conversation today. But yeah, I'm on it. I think definitely the schooling thing and promoting our businesses and giving our youth a sense of purpose is definitely the way forward. So yeah, with that, that's me, bros.
I respect bros.
Respect me on that. Peace.
Yeah, man. Respect, fam. Peace.
Would we have to start lobbying our MPs? The reason why I keep on coming back to this system part of the thing, which I know most people don't like, is because I keep on looking at the people who are in prison. We don't want them leaving prison and just going back into the same lifestyle, which could lead to an increase in knife crime. So is there a way of getting them inducted into a program where it'll be helping them with those things I mentioned that they were trying in Scotland with, you had the housing relocation, you had employment training as well. Something so that when they leave the prison, they don't just slot back into that life and start doing it all over again. But I know it means then we have to start looking at people outside of our community who have that political power. And a lot of people won't be too happy about that. But we can't implement a program in the neighborhood and not think about the other brothers and sisters who are already locked up, because they're going to be coming out. What's going to be there for them? Or else you just have the same problem recycling itself over and over again. So.
I used to.
Like on the, like in closing, also with people that are getting arrested and put into prison and that, it's not really stopping knife crime or violent crime, should I say? It's just moving it into prison, which is not really a solution. But yeah, man, big up Content for hosting the discussion, man. You get me?
Don't know you.
And the issues, you get me?
Respect.
And big up to everyone that came through in the chat and on the panel.
But before you used to go, I don't know where Scatter is still. Come like he drop out, you probably sleeping, fam. But there's one next brother, what's his name? Let me look. Tanvir Chima in the chat still. He's asking thoughts on Jesse Lee Peterson. I don't know who this guy is still, so I ain't got no thought. I don't know what he's referring to still. But I don't know if you man know anything about this, what he's talking about, guys. He's asked a lot still.
No.
Don't know this guy. We don't know this. We don't know this guy. We don't know this guy.
Jesse Lee Peterson is a Black American. He's like a media personality. He has his own show and radio show. You can actually
that brother there, that black conservative guy.
Yes, yes.
Okay, yeah.
With a goatee, mustache, and beard.
Yeah, I didn't know who he was. I've just Googled the face and I've heard him speak before, and I'm not a fan, I'll tell you that much still.
Yeah.
Yeah. He seems like 'cause you know what it is, like you can have varying opinions in the black community, you get me? And I'm a man who's all for that still. I don't want everyone to be just one way. I like to hear different points of view still. But at the same time, like from what I have seen of him, he seems to be he seems to get joy from belittling other black people for some of the faults that he's identified in them. Like he doesn't seem to wanna. This is just from a brief um analysis of what I've seen of him. You get me? He doesn't seem to wanna fix the problems that he identifies within the black community, but he seems like he would rather just ridicule the people for having those problems. You get me?
Yeah, 100%. That's him really still to a T, bro. He definitely takes pleasure out of it in some way, shape, or form, but never comes with any solution.
Yeah, so that's my thing still. Like I'm a man. Someone like, I don't like to take joy or pleasure from other people's misery. You get me? So yeah, if I identify a problem, it will be in order to try and fix that. So yeah, that's my response to that guy there still. But I ain't really studied him too much. Car, it's one of those ones that I felt like I saw from what I saw. I identified that that's what he's on. And I was like, right, I don't need to be really paying man too many more attention. You get me?
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Witness? What do you think about him?
I think he's endemic in America. There's a big industry where you do have a lot of because as you mentioned, black people are not a monolith. They're not the same. They're diverse, and you do have a lot of black people, black Americans who are conservatives. They vote for the Republican Party. They support Donald Trump. There's another guy called Anthony Bryan Logan. He's like that as well. He's got his own YouTube channel, his own radio, and they come out with views which challenge the consensus of black people. I think, yeah, they have the right, the freedom to say what they want. They give you idea about things from a different perspective. It's up to you to decide whether you want to take what they're saying seriously or not. But I think it's important to hear different voices because not everybody in the community is saying the same thing. It's always important to hear the truth wherever it comes from.
Most definitely. Cool, man. Yeah, if anyone else wants to add on anything else still, come. I was looking to wrap up the thing still. Anybody wants to say anything before man close down the show?
Just wanted to say thanks very much for organizing the show. It's been a pleasure being on it. Look forward to your next one.
Yeah, respect Witness, fam. Don't know, brother.
Big up, man. Big up.
Yeah.
Books, Scad, Witness, Raven, Chat, easy.
Yeah, don't know books. Respect Scad, everyone for coming on. Yeah, that's the end of the show, you know, sir. That's the way I gotta leave it still until the next time. That's our corner. We didn't do the our corner on Sunday. I had to just do a little makeshift thing online. And yeah, I hate that still. But yeah, until next time, innit, everyone. Respect, peace.
Peace, brothers.
Don't know.